Want to call to order the July 2020 meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the town of Mint Hill, North Carolina. We do have a quorum present, and I'm going to ask Mayor Pro Tem Dalton to lead our invocation, please.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, we want to thank you so much for this evening. Thank you so much for being with us, each and every one. We ask that you give us the guidance to help run and guide this town into the decisions that need to be made. We ask for special blessings and prayers, dear Lord, for the coronavirus, that we can get through this as soon as possible. Be with all of our officers, our military, all the people on the first line in the hospitals. Dear Lord, we need you through this time to help us heal this country. In your name we pray. Amen.
If we would all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 3, additions, deletions, or arrangement of agenda items. I do have 2 additions to make under the consent agenda. Item number E is to approve the resolution awarding financing to Trust Bank for financing new vehicles for public works and public safety departments. And number F, approve interlocal joint agreement between Mecklenburg County and Mecklenburg County towns for coronavirus aid, relief, and Economic Security Act funding. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
I make a motion we accept the consent agenda.
Second. A motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 4, approval minutes of the June 11th, 2020 Board of Commissioners regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve those.
I'll second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now to item number 5, the consent agenda. I will reread the first part of it. A, accept May Treasurer's Report and financials. B, accept proposed changes to Chapter 16 parades, processions, and demonstrations, and Chapter 18 parks and recreation. C, accept June tax collector's report. D, approve 25-mile-per-hour speed limit reduction for the Heathville neighborhood, plus E and F that I read previously. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll move on to item number 6, public comments. Town Manager Welch, would you read those, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor Board. I will read these in the order in which they were received, and I will read them verbatim. First is from Karen Trauner, 8835 Brigadier Lane, Mint Hill. Good afternoon, Michelle. I would like to have the following comment included at tonight's BOC meeting, please. I've read through the published notes regarding the town's future relationship with the Mint Hill Athletic Association. Although the MHAA has done a great job in the past of running the town's sports programs, I think it should be considered that the needs of the residents have outgrown this volunteer group's abilities. Many former MHAA families have fled MHAA to participate in other towns' programs which they feel are better run. MHAA no longer has the number of volunteers required to maintain their fields, concession stand, and other needs. I have been told the MHAA is not only in debt on the fields, but has less than 3 months of operating expenses left. Not all of this is due to COVID-19. I understand that the town is considering buying the fields from the MHAA, then leasing them back to MHAA to continue to operate. I would like to propose that instead, we realize that the time has come for the town to establish an official Parks and Rec department. This department could then work either with MHAA or encompass MHAA's programs. An official Parks and Rec department could also establish programs for other residents, such as day camps for kids and programs for seniors. Not everyone in town is a young athlete. Other residents deserve to enjoy programs here too. We are the only town of our size in the area which does not have a Parks and Rec department. Which does not staff a Parks and Rec department. I have a petition which, without any advertising or undue promotion, has amassed 135 signatures of Mint Hill residents who would like to open this discussion before any deal is reached with MHAA, and we ask the town to open such a dialogue. Thank you. Next is Brian Lewis, 14264 Maple Hollow Lane. Saw a note on the Mint Hill Facebook group saying to email you to voice support. I'm 100% behind your proposal of dissolving MHAA in favor of a Mint Hill Parks and Rec department. The next is from Jennifer Harward, 7320 Pine Lake Lane. I have read Karen Trauner's email to you, and I think she is full of it. She lost the election, yet still trying to push her way in. No one agreed with her then, and they don't now. Leave MHAA like it is. Obviously, she hasn't put any kids through there or worked countless upon countless hours at the fields. This next one is actually, it's two parts. Michelle asked if he wanted this to be posted, so it will make sense when I read it. This is Justin Smith, 6233 Goldwagon Lane. Hey, Michelle, I support the idea of having Mint Hill having a Parks and Rec department. Thank you for all your work in this endeavor. If you need anything else from me, please let me know, to which Michelle asked, do you want this read into the minutes? And he replied, you sure can read it aloud. I can also say that we started at MHAA for soccer and moved to CSA because of exactly what you are referring to, that the program was not being run well anymore. I really tried to support them as long as we could, but it got to a point where we were done. I personally feel that if a Parks and Rec entity took this over, it would be much more beneficial to the community. The next is from Ryan Moore, 7613 Happy Hollow Drive. Hello, Ms. Wells. I have been informed of a string of emails that are being sent to you in regards to a Parks and Rec department being funded in the town of Mint Hill. I would just like to put my 2 cents in as a resident of this town my entire life. For 26 years, we have not needed one, and we do not need one now. There is no need to spend the town's money on a frivolous, wasteful, and ultimately useless department. The consensus of people I have spoken to does not support it. Creating this department would be redundant, as most everything the town hosts is already very heavily volunteer-based, as it should be. We should not be taking any of our tax dollars to create yet another wasteful department. That by the end of the next year would be so covered up in so much bureaucratic red tape, it would be using our said tax dollars to pay people to sit around incentivizing mediocrity. The only true way to help the people of the great town of Mint Hill, which has seen great economic and personal growth because of the conservative principles, is to allow the private sector to do what it does best, to create competition, which will only drive down prices, increase quality, and lower turnaround time, creating a more free flow of income to companies and employees, which would only stand to better the community. It has been proven time and time again that government is slow, cumbersome, and ineffective. The Mint Hill Athletic Association, while very important to the community as a whole, is not above failing. History has shown that when the government steps in to save a failing business, the results are always subpar. With 10 years in the automotive industry, we will just take, for example, GM. When bailed out, it took 10 years for GM to make a reputable, reliable vehicle. The MHAA is just the same. With government oversight and overreach, it will become an even less successful venture. If they cannot do it on their own, they need to fail. Restructure or close their doors. In its place, a newer, more efficient and effective company will take its place. In conclusion, I speak for more than just my behalf. Mint Hill does not need a Parks and Rec department. And the final one is from Frank Palmieri, 10940 Flintshire Road. Hello, Michelle and town officials. I am sending this email in response to Karen Harvey Trauner's Facebook post on What's Up Mint Hill regarding the Mint Hill Athletic Association. I want to start out by saying I absolutely oppose what she is suggesting regarding the formation of a Parks and Rec department. I have volunteered my time at MHAA for several years in a variety of roles and still do today. Quite frankly, I wouldn't have it any other way. I love it there and consider it my second home, considering how much time my family spends at the park. The town donation to MHAA is very reasonable in my humble opinion, especially when compared to what it would take to run a Parks and Rec department. Any basic research into a local P&R budget will quickly show you that. Furthermore, there are already other locations in Mint Hill that can support and facilitate other non-sport related activities that a vocal few are pushing for, mainly veterans and Willow Grove parks. Rarely is Willow Grove even close to capacity from my experience, so I don't feel the demand for such services cannot be handled by those facilities, at least for the foreseeable future. Finally, I want to note that 135 signatures that have been gathered to support this measure is an extremely small fraction of the Mint Hill population. The lack of signatures tells me the residents of Mint Hill do not support the idea of eliminating MHAA at the expense of a Parks and Recreation Department. MHAA and the services it provides has an extremely positive impact on the young boys and girls of Mint Hill that use our facilities every day. Please consider that when assessing the value of MHAA provides to the community. If some want to create a P&R department, I even support that. But MHAA should be left as it is, has been since we have all known it. Volunteer and community-based. Thank you for taking my comments. That's all.
Thank you, Manager Welch. Agenda item number 7, discussion and decision on public hearing on ZC 20-1 filed by Dennis Terry, Block Design for Mecklenburg County to rezone property located at 8320 Mayerling Drive for a park, the tax parcel being 135-131-01. Mr. Horton.
Thank you, sir. Hopefully you see the site plan on your monitor. You have it in the packet. Probably need to refresh your memory on that. This is a neighborhood park that came to you at March 12th public hearing. This is a park. It requires a CD. That's the reason it's going through this process. It did go to the planning board later that month in March. The planning board had a favorable recommendation. And I am happy to go over this with you. I also have Colin from Block Design on the phone. If you have any questions for him, he is here on my phone. And I'm happy to answer questions myself, or if you want to go through the site plan, I'm happy to do that as well.
Commissioner Holton, any questions or comments?
We covered this in March. I mean, my biggest problem with this said park is it's a neighborhood park. It's not open to other residents of the town. But it is my understanding this is the property's owned by Mecklenburg, right?
Yes, sir.
It'll be funded by Mecklenburg.
Yes, sir.
We have it won't affect us at all. Otherwise, the land's just going to sit there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to be clear, I think he answered that last time, but they don't close it off to any others. It's just the way this park is designed is most likely just going to attract the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Mr. Pro Tem Dalton.
My concern is still the parking. I know it's a neighborhood park, but in turn, you're still going to have people who drive there to use that park. They're going to be parking on the side of the streets. And I remember one of the gentlemen in March stating that, well, we could call the police. Police has got enough to do without being traffic engineers or cops or monitoring that facility. I still have an issue or a problem with spending tax dollars on a private park for a neighborhood. Personally, I know they already own the land. These are just my concerns. I just don't feel real good about it.
Commissioner Cochran.
The only concern I had is a concern I have about a lot of different areas where you're going to have public coming. It's the same thing that Commissioner Dalton just said was about the parking. I know it's supposed to be a neighborhood park, but if it's as nice as what they've declared it to be, then you're going to have a parking problem. And I would like to see how they're going to take care of a parking problem if people start parking on roads where they shouldn't be parking.
That question did come up at the last meeting, and Colin can speak to this. But as he said, and as you alluded to, if that becomes a problem, that is when the police department could work with the neighborhood to come up with a solution. So be it ban on-street parking, although that usually has repercussions on the neighborhood itself. I believe he had said that they haven't had these issues in some of these other smaller parks. Again, the way this is designed, it probably will not attract outside neighborhood residents. But if parking does become an issue, that is something that the neighborhood can deal with at that time.
My understanding is that there's no parking lot or a place for people to park
That's
if
correct.
they do come over there and visit the park.
That's correct. There is
Okay.
no parking lot. That's correct.
Commissioner Long?
Nothing really. I would echo Commissioner Holton. My thoughts are the same as his. It's owned by Mecklenburg County. It's in our jurisdiction, but we really don't have a lot to say about it.
Any further questions? If not, I will entertain a motion on ZC 20-1. Do I have a motion? One way or the other? Somebody's gonna have to do something.
I'll
You
make the
gotta
motion
accept-
I'll make the motion to approve that, Mr. Mayor.
I
I'll
have a
second.
motion. I have a motion and a second for approval on ZC 20-1, filed by Dennis Terry, Block Design for Mecklenburg County, to rezone property located at 8320 Mayerling Drive for a park, tax parcel number 135-131-01. Do I have any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Please put on the record that Commissioner Dalton opposed. That passes. Excuse me, agenda item number 8. Discussion and decision on ZC 20-2, filed by Jonathan Reed, Paragon Landscape Management, to rezone property located at 13216 Albemarle Road from BG to BGCD, tax parcel number 137-153-07 and 137-153-21. Mr. Horde.
Okay, this also was at the public hearing on March 12th and went to the planning board later that month. This is a CD requirement of a contractor's office with accessory storage. This is simply a business moving out and a business moving in. I think at the public hearing, there were no comments or no questions. I'm happy to answer any questions right now.
Any questions, Commissioner Long?
No, sir.
Commissioner Cochran? Mayor Pro Tem Dalton?
No questions.
Commissioner Holton?
Negative.
Okay, if not, I will entertain a motion on ZC 20-2.
I make a motion of acceptance on that.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any further discussion? I have a motion to approve ZC 20-2, filed by Jonathan Reed, Paragon Landscape Management, to rezone property located at 13216 Albemarle Road from BG to BGCD, tax parcels number 137-153-07 and 137-153-21. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Have any opposed? That passes as well. Agenda item number 9, discussion for draft RFP for the land use plan. Mr. Horde, you're still there.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, sir. This is from your February 2020 board retreat, and you had a conversation about doing a land use plan update. You directed by consensus staff to begin the process to develop the RFP, and we have worked on that, staff including attorney, Brian, Lee, everyone, and we have come up with a draft for your review and comments and sort of blessing, if you will, before we post it live. Yeah, that's a good point. So I guess the main sort of ingredients here that I want you to focus on is the responsibilities and the scope of work. So we want to make sure you're reading through that and you're in agreement. A few of the items that maybe just to highlight, something that came out of this is, from staff meeting, is the general guidance of the scope of work is the preference for a lean plan. So we didn't necessarily discuss that at the retreat, but that is something that staff has been talking about. I think we did talk about the possibility of 2 public meetings, so we have placed that in this scope of service. Also identifying the areas with no sewer and essentially just avoiding that. So carving that area out and not putting that in the land use plan. So no point in doing an analysis of that. So that came out of this. And then another item that came from the staff meetings is what we hope to end with at the end of that land use plan is a what's left to develop scenario. So basically finding all the properties that are sort of eligible for development, that are 5 acres or more, and to create a map of what's really left in Mint Hill to develop. And that is something that we hope the consultant can provide us, and I think it would be very beneficial and helpful for us as we move forward. I think those were the main ones that we didn't necessarily discuss at the retreat, but we came up with at staff meetings.
And I'd like to, excuse me, I'd like to commend staff for putting that together before we sent the RFP out. Last thing we need to do is spend a bunch of money so they could come back and say, you're not going to have sewer here for 10 or 15 years, so you can't do anything, which they would have charged us for. So staff did an excellent job, and I want that to be noted. We appreciate all the work you did leading up to this point in the process. Does anybody have any questions for John on this?
Good job.
Here, one more thing I'll say, just what we're planning on doing, I think I put it in the memo there, but the idea here, unless you object, would be maybe for the next month, the consultants will send in their proposals. Staff is going to filter that down to the 3 best ones, and we have a how we're going to rank them. And then we're going to bring them before you guys, and you're going to make the final selection. And just keep in mind, you're going to have plenty of room and opportunity to discuss more if you want, or you can strengthen it, you can expand it, so there'll be plenty of opportunity for that.
And just to verify, there will be 2 public hearings before we vote on it at the final.
I mean, you could ask for more. So
No,
we
that's our goal at this point in time,
Absolutely.
based on what considering we haven't seen anything.
That's right. So
That's a
we
good
wanted-
rule.
That's right. So we wanted the consultant that's making the proposal to know that we're looking for at least 2 meetings. But as we get into it, you may find that 4. I mean, whatever comes up, so.
Right,
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
exactly.
That's right.
Then we'll have one final board meeting.
That's right.
Good. Anybody else, have anything else on that?
Yes, sir. Having been involved in 2010, and I don't remember, maybe you can refresh my mind, on the length of, from start to it's being adopted, 6 months, 7 months?
Well, now that one was unique. That one ran into a lot of delays.
Okay.
I think it took a year total.
There's 2 answers to that question.
Okay.
So, if you're talking about when we engage with a consultant and they start work, that's probably a 6-month window.
Okay.
What we're looking at now is, assuming you guys, and it doesn't take a motion tonight, we're just kind of looking for a wink and a nod that you're okay with the scope of work and we're gonna go to the street with it. We'll probably leave that out for what, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, something like that, to let these folks bring in their proposals. Staff's gonna, let's say a 2-month period by the time staff whittles it down to 3, and then we'll either a scheduled meeting, one of these, or a special workshop. We'll bring them in, let them sing and dance, and figure out which one you like, and then I'll go back and negotiate a contract with them. So for your wink and nod today, you're probably looking at least 4 months before we have a negotiated contract with the consultant to be good work. You guys will also be charged with, at your leisure, of course, with appointing a steering committee, and we talked about that a little bit offline. But all that will kind of be folded in within that 4-month period. So you're probably talking about 4 months from now, at the earliest, assuming negotiations go well, which I anticipate they will. About 4 months from now, those folks will start working. And then we're probably looking maybe 6 months after that to finish by.
Okay. So May or June of next year for a finished product.
Good.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Thank you.
All right, everybody that's in favor of having staff move forward, just say aye, it doesn't require.
Aye.
Yes, sir.
Aye.
Okay, we're good. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right, I misspoke numbers a minute ago. Now we're to item number 10, discussion and roles for Park and Recreation Committee. There's been a lot of discussion on this. We had it at retreat. Patrick, I think you were the liaison to that committee. We tried to have a few meetings with that committee, and it just, for a number of reasons, it wasn't successful. So what we're looking at, the this evening, I just want to give a little discussion on it based on what we've already done as far as what we already approved in our consent agenda and that kind of thing. I want to make some points, and that is, point number one, the Town Park and Rec Committee did not have a defined role, does not have a defined role. The passive role of the committee has caused a lot of frustration, and we saw ourselves in the first 7 months that we've been here that there was a lot of poor attendance due to those. So the limited duties that the committee did have appeared to be being handled by staff before they ever got to the committee. Took the applications here, did all that kind of thing here as well. So our plan at this point in time, or our thought on this, and of course I'm going to entertain a motion one way or the other on this in just a few minutes, is appointing the Mint Hill Planning Board to serve as the Mint Hill Parks and Recreation Committee, and they would still maintain being the Park and Rec Committee for the purpose of long-range planning for our parks. We do need to have that committee in place for grant applications, and of course, they would handle the other things that the Park and Rec Committee is doing now, as far as approving minor events, approving major events, and that kind of thing. And then what I would suggest that we do, and this is my suggestion, I'm going to entertain a motion from you guys, but is that we go back to the the current members on the Mint Hill Parks and Rec Committee who have served the town so well, thank them for what they've done, and then give them the opportunity to serve on this new steering committee that we're going to have during our 10-year plan. With them being able to serve there, be a lot more active in the community. So those that still want to serve the community, we want them to serve the community. And there's a lot of good members on that committee who have served the town well. So I'm open for the discussion on that. If anybody has any further discussion, or I would entertain a motion, either way you'd like to go. Kenny, well, let's do questions and answers. Commissioner Holton?
I think it's a great idea.
I
That's
agree.
all I got.
I agree. I have no questions. It's very well deserved.
I'm getting head nods down there. Okay, I would entertain a motion. Commissioner Holton, I saw your hand.
Well, I'll make the motion to appoint the Town of Mint Hill Planning Board to serve as the Town of Mint Hill Parks and Rec Committee. Additionally, I move that all currently serving members of the Parks and Rec Committee be contacted in writing by the town with our thanks for their service and an invitation to serve on the upcoming Land Use Planning Steering Committee.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all. Item number 11, appointments to the Planning Board and Park and Rec Committee, which, remember now going forward, and I'm going to be confusing a lot of people, it's now the same thing, okay? It's the same members, but there is still a Park and Rec Committee, there still is a Planning Board. They're just serving dual roles there. So let me find my sheet here as far as that's concerned. We have 3 vacancies on the Planning Board / Park and Rec Board at this time. We have 1 expired term, and I want to do these, first of all, the regular Planning Board, and then we'll do the ETJ after that. We really have 2 openings. Scott Fandle, his term is expired. He has reapplied for his position and is interested in filling that spot. And then we have the opening in the death of Planning Board member Roy Fielding. So I will entertain a motion to anybody that has people that they'd like to fill those positions.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to reassign Scott Fandel.
Okay? Do I have any other members? We have 2 openings there. Any other?
I'll make a motion on the ETJ for Thomas.
Let me handle that one after we
Oh,
fill the
okay.
other opening. We have another opening in, as far as town members.
Oh,
I'll make the motion for the second one for Douglas Kenny Draffin.
I have a motion for Scott Fandle and Douglas Kenny Drayfin. Do I have any other nominations? Somebody want to second those two names, please?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Hearing no other names, all in favor of appointing Scott Fannell and Douglas Kenny Drayfin to the planning board, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now, we do have ETJ members on that as well. We do have a current opening on the ETJ membership. It is an existing member, Tom Gatz. John, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's serving as chairman currently. Yeah, serving as chairman currently. Mr. Gatz's term is expired. He has, however, filled out an application to refill that position, and to my knowledge, we have no other ETJ applications at all. So I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We welcome all of those people to our planning board, park and rec board, and look forward to working with them in the future. Item number 12, approve agreement amendment for Heron Creek off-site sidewalk work. And Steve, I'm gonna have you come up there, please, and run us through that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some of you were around previously when the original sidewalk agreement was approved between the Heron Creek subdivision and the town. So this will be old news to you guys, at least the agreement. And for those new to it, this is an agreement to jointly fund off-site sidewalk down Walter Nelson Road and Lebanon Road by the Heron Creek subdivision. We had a formal agreement written up by Kevin Bringawat, our attorney. The developer agreed to that as well. We executed it. You'll see this is amendment number 2. Amendment number 1 was approved by the previous board last year to increase our funding due to receiving favorable bids through this agreement to fund it all the way to Single Tree Road, just before the bridge on Lebanon. This agreement number 2 adjusts some dates that have fallen out of whack due to some permitting hangups with DOT. So the developer requested that we just do some house cleaning here and tidy up the agreement to keep it black and white between the two entities. So this is, to be clear, this agreement, or excuse me, this amendment number 2 is just cleaning up some dates that are found under section number 7 there, schedule and building permits. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioner Long,
No, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Cochran,
No questions, no, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem Dalton,
No questions.
Commissioner Holton.
Nothing, sir.
With that being said, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the agreement amendment for Herring Creek off-site sidewalk.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Did you get that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Fry, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Item number 13, other business or council matters. Staff, anything? Chief Ledford, please join us, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commissioner, town manager, friends, citizens of the town of Mint Hill. I began my law enforcement career in the spring of 1976. I've had an amazing career, made some great accomplishments. I think it's time for me to step down and let someone else take over. So I'm officially giving my retirement date of December 31st of this year. I've been blessed to make all the accomplishments that I have made, so I'd like to thank God for guiding me through everything that He has. I'd like to thank my wife Patricia for being so supportive, and my family. The citizens of Mint Hill have been outstanding in supporting the police department. I'm very proud of that. It's kind of tough for me to stand here and be given this notice, but I want to do it early so we can implement some succession planning that we have been putting together, so we can kind of transition the new leadership team into place when I transition out. So I'd like to thank this board for their support, the town for their support, and all the friends that have guided me along the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Ledford. I normally start at one end or the other with comments, you guys are not going to get that opportunity tonight.
Hang on a second, Chief.
We're not going to start at the other end. I'm going to take over. First of all, you don't see on my face how truthfully disappointed I am to be losing such a fine police chief. You know, you and I have had this discussion numerous times in the last 7 months, and I tried to get you to commit to stay on till at least I was gone. Town of Mint Hill is blessed to have your service, sir, and it's going to be tough filling those shoes. You kind of caught me off guard here this evening, and you might put this in the minutes. For once, I'm a little speechless, but we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for the service that you've given the town of Mint Hill. And I've had the opportunity to sit with many of the other mayors and many of the other police chiefs in some of the meetings that I've had over the last few months. And I can tell you, I didn't get the opportunity to pick you, sir, but if I'd have been given the opportunity, you'd have been the one we picked. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Holton.
No, two times. Thank you very much.
That's all I had.
Mayor Pro Tem Dalton.
I actually thought you were going to come up and do one of your, I have nothing to report.
That's exactly right.
And I'd have been happier had he done it.
We all knew this time was coming. You'd talking to us, and I'm like, Mayor, you caught me off guard tonight by doing that. But I would personally want to thank you for what you've done to this town and for this town. Your police academy courses, like I said, you caught me off guard. I don't have a list of all of what you've done, but you have given a lot to this town, and the professionalism of your officers are bragged on all the time. Even the people who stop to get a ticket, they talk about how nice the officer was to them. So I wasn't around when the previous chief was here, but I have nothing but admiration for you, and you feel it's going to be hard to replace you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dalton.
I was about ready to fuss with you. I said, am I the only one that didn't know this was happening? I'm telling you, Chief, you're God sent. You know my belief and what I'm made of. I love the Lord, and I think God sent you to Mint Hill. I think you're a person that has not only been in charge of a police force that are part of our first responders, but you are a personal chief of police. I've never seen anybody meet the public being a chief of police as you have. You've done a fabulous job. I think of you as a very close personal friend just because of how nice you are to me and the other people around me.
That's absolutely right, sir.
Yeah, I promise you that I don't know who's going to fill your shoes, but boy, they got some big shoes to fill. And we appreciate
The Lord
it.
is good to the next person that fills my shoes as he has been to me.
Well, God
Amen.
bless you.
Amen.
Thank you.
Commissioner Long.
Thank you. I would echo the mayor's sentiments. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the example you've set. And you've inspired us all and been a close friend.
Thank you.
We'll miss you, but Godspeed.
Thank you.
Amen.
Well, that makes it fun to carry on, huh? Other business council matters in addition to that. Anybody have anything they'd like to say to the public tonight while we're here? Mr. Holton?
Nope.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No.
No, sir.
Hearing nothing else, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion with adjourn.
Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.